Okay, and we're live, Mark. Go
Hey
ahead.
guys, welcome to Awake and Alive podcast once again. With us today is Dave Hedges. I am Mark Smith, and also on the line is Mike DeCroche. Couple matters of business before we get started. We launched last week the newly renovated website at IamAwakeandAlive.com. Check that out, and then this Friday, a couple days from now, we will be launching the member portal where you can actually go in and sign up and find dozens of workout programs that we've been putting together and a full video library as well. This week we do have a code for the apparel store. We've got I am awake 20, all lowercase, and that gets you 20% off anything. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Dave Hedges. Dave, welcome to the show, and thanks for coming on.
Oh, thanks for inviting me.
Dave is all the way in Dublin. I'm going to read over a little bit of a list of some of his accomplishments. I had to pull it out of him. Dave and I actually go back a little bit. I first knew of Dave through My Mad Methods magazine, which we've talked about on the show before. He was a
Correct.
writer there, and I remember reading a lot of his articles and thought it was really good stuff and was always learning from him. And then 2 summers ago, Dave was most gracious and hospitable, let me stay with him for 5 days in his house in Dublin while he and I, we went and attended the Edo Portal seminar. And then he also, showed me his studio at Wild Geese, and we hung out, and it was the beginning of a wonderful friendship, and in a lot of ways I've learned a great deal from Dave. But I want to go over some of his accomplishments here. And Dave, like I said, is the co-founder of Wild Geese Martial Arts. He's owner and coach there, in charge of most of the personal training. He has a dog, Rhea, two young boys, a lovely wife. He has a black belt in Wado Ryu Karate. Correct me if I
Wateroo,
said that
yep.
wrong. Yep. And Ed Parker's Kinpo. He avoided grading in Filipino martial arts. He qualified for personal trainer in 2009. He is certified by Vasily Ginko as a IUKL kettlebell coach. That was also in 2009. That was a busy year for you. Um, he was awarded the role of IKFF Master Trainer for Ireland. We will talk about that at some point in the show. That's kind of a big deal. He's humble about it, but it's a big deal. He practices anatomy and motion, and martial arts are the reason he got into fitness in the first place. A couple cool things about some of his clients. One client said he beat rigor mortis twice. Thought that was kind of fun. And then another one, I actually know a little bit about this story, but we can certainly talk about it. I think it would be great. Another one destroyed his leg in a motorcycle crash. Then 14 months after working with Coach Dave, won the European BJJ Championships. And then he currently has the Gravity Enduro, which is a mountain biking competition. The champion trains out of Wild Geese. He has one of the world's top Kyokushin karate fighters training with him. Several European kettlebell sport athletes, including one champion, and lots of other people train him for different reasons. He says he does care about his clients' abilities and ambitions, but it's the gradual, small process every time they come in, leaving a little bit better, that really brings him reward and motivates him to do what he does. He also works with a mental health group. Love to hear about that later on the show. He just recently launched online coaching, retired doorman and cyclist, and he enjoys red wine, whiskey, and beer, and he likes strong coffee. And Dave, I am sipping a Lafroig Scotch in your honor because I know you do like a good bit of dram. Did I miss anything?
No, sounds fair.
Yep. So let's jump in a little bit. Let's have you chat for a bit, kind of about yourself, aside from what I've mentioned. What's going on right now? A little bit of your background. You can begin with the martial arts. I know that's sort of your bread and butter in
Yeah.
martial arts, leading you into a pursuit of fitness, strength training. So take it away, Dave.
Yeah, well, I suppose it was the martial arts. I started karate when I was 11. From that, I was cycling around town. That was kind of my sort of freedom, the independence of just being on the bike. And I noticed that as I did karate, the cycling got easier. As I did more cycling, the karate got easier. Kind of started put two and two together. I was never athletic. I'm not from an athletic family. So then we started running. So that improved everything again until the point where I was about 16, and that's when things started to change a little bit. I was tall and skinny, and everybody I was fighting against was nearly as tall, but a hell of a lot wider, a hell of a lot stronger. So my instructor just quite simply just turned around to me one day and says, "Dave, you've got to get strong." So fortunate that the school I was at, some of the lads I hung around with were on the rowing team. So I think it's like they were the ranked 12th in the country for their age group. So I had a chat with them and asked if I could go to their gym training sessions with them, lift a few weights with them. They spoke to their coach, and that's where it all started. That's where we discovered weights, discovered the benefits of strength training. Combination of strength training, endurance training just seemed to make the karate, the martial arts better. And then from there on, it's just been an ongoing journey ever since.
Now,
So I
when
think
you
the
were doing
coach,
the weights, when you were doing the weights at 16, kind of mixing it with the martial arts, was it that sort of old school bodybuilding modality that we often see a lot of teenagers start in, or had you kind of latched onto a full body um, application that would complement martial arts, or was it just strength for strength?
like I said, the coach I was training under was the guy who was looking after the school rowing team. So
Mm-hmm.
bodybuilding wasn't an issue. It was training for the strength training was built around his rowing squad, um, which I don't know if you're familiar with the sport.
A little
It's
bit,
all
yeah.
yeah.
It's a big deal at the college I went to. They had a big crew team at Carolina.
Yeah.
And one of my roommates, actually, senior year of college, I lived in a house, and this guy was big time into rowing.
See,
Real
yeah. See,
loner guy,
I'll,
but he
I'll
liked to be
combinate
on the
rowing.
water by himself for hours. It was
Yep.
very impressive, his mental fortitude.
Hmm. Yeah. Uh, so their training sessions were, I'd say they'd be considered unusual, although it's a method I still use to this day in that we'd warm up with circuit training. So we'd do just a general sort of warm up, and then it would be into like a 20-minute long circuit, various exercises, light weights, body weight, jumping around, a bit of
Hmm.
agility work. 20 minutes flat out, and you'd be pretty done by the end of that.
Right.
And then the barbells would come out, and it'd be power cleans and bench pulls, just basic strength training exercises, a lot of pulling action. Um, so yeah,
Sure.
no bodybuilding. I didn't do a bicep curl until I was in my 20s.
I love it. Excellent. I wish I'd have gone that route instead of backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe pissed away a little bit of time doing the bodybuilding thing, but here stateside, it's you start working out in high school to get chicks, and to get chicks, try to build up a chest and shoulders and look good in front of a mirror.
Yeah.
Um, so, and I was scrawny, so I also wanted to put on a little bit of size. It seemed fleeting at the time. I just sort of should have waited for my growth spurt, and everything worked itself out once that came. Um, but yeah, it's the 20-minute circuit thing. That's sort of in the definitely ahead of the time, but it's sort of in the Dan John school of thought. The warm up is the workout,
Is the
uh,
workout, yes.
right? And I know that you're a big warm up fan. Um, as am I. The workout is um, I often tell my students the workout is just as significant, if not more significant, than your actual workout. Because my warm-ups are designed to address everyday issues
Hmm.
with shoulder hip mobility that your typical desk worker is going to encounter. Things that skill sets that I think that every human should possess.
Yeah.
Um, and movement patterns that everybody should be able to do. So I emphasize these in the warm up. It's like it doesn't matter how often you come. Every time you step foot in the
Yes.
Ludus at Asylum Fitness, you do these things. And I know that um, you're a big fan of a very deliberate, intentional warm up as well. What does your warm up look like right now? Oh, and also, don't you do a different warm up depending on the people, right? Is that right?
Yes, I've got a few different warm-ups that we use now. As we're talking about this, there's one of my lads, Mark, this afternoon. We were talking about warm-ups. He's going to be laughing at this whole segment because he doesn't like warming up, and to be honest, neither do I. Um, but I insist on people doing proper warm-ups. So he's going to be laughing about this whole section. You saying that Dave loves his warm-ups. My clients, I insist on full proper warm-ups. I have three kind of general warm-ups that we do because I've got three sort of general group sessions. The early morning guys have quite a slow start warm-up because it's first thing in the morning. They haven't done anything yet in the day.
Sure.
So it's kind of a slow start warm-up, a lot of mobility moving around. We've got a short, sharp warm-up, which are the favourite ones to put on YouTube because they're a bit more action-based, and that's for the lunchtime crew who are very time-starved. And if you go onto the YouTube channel and look up any of the 100-rep warm-ups, that's what you'll see. And some people just use them as workouts on their own. And then the evening group, where it's kind of the end of the day groups, we do your more sort of your arm circles, hip circles, your full joint mobility, joint by joint through the body.
Sure.
Spend a little bit longer on it. So, yeah, different warm-ups, different people. And then the individuals, as we sort of their training needs and wants or change, or we work on injuries, different, like you said, different movement patterns, individual specific to the individual. We will implement their own movements, prehab, rehab type drills into their warm-ups, and that's what I think the warm-up is ideal for. It's like resetting the body. If we can get the skeleton, as it were, as leveled off as possible, the hips are level, the weight is centered, the shoulders are moving freely. If we can get everything set in the warm-up, by the time you hit the heavy stuff, that should actually hopefully dial in the resets a that bit deeper. Do you get what I'm going with that?
Well, sure. Reinforce it. It would positively reinforce the pattern if you set it to where it should be. Then you add load. You enforce the nervous system to say, hey, this is where we should be. This is resting for us. This position.
That's the plan. So yeah, that's the warm-up philosophy. Now my own training, I'm terrible for skipping warm-ups. Always have done since I was a young fella.
Same here. I do it based on how I'm feeling. A lot of times I do try to jump in with a couple reps here and there with the classes, just to get the wrist moving, get the shoulders moving, get the hips moving. But
so what I tend to do, I mean, I have the advantage of being on the gym floor most of the time, so I'm usually fairly warm anyway. I've been swinging the clubs around, or I've been demonstrating exercise, this and the other, so kind of on the go all the time. But we notice with particularly the office guys. Now my gym is in the IT center, IT financial center of Dublin, so a lot of the guys will be coming from desk jobs. As active as they are in the rest of life, they've still worked however many hours at a desk. So we insist they spend a good bit of time just opening the body up.
Mm-hmm. Right. Extension.
A lot of extension. Try and get the glutes, the thoracic spine, open up the hip flexors a little bit. Have you looked through any of the warm-up stuff that we do?
Oh yeah.
The videos, yeah.
If I can speak freely, you've been a big influence in a lot of my development. Throughout the course. I recognize somebody has an intelligent approach to fitness right off the bat, and so ever since reading your articles, even before we became mates, I've always sort of seen kind of what Dave's got going on, and I use it as a checks and balances. This is a guy that's had success with his clients. He's successful in the blogosphere, and he's well informed and intelligent. are the things I'm doing lining up more or less with the philosophy that you're teaching? Not in
Cool.
exact mimicry, but like I said, checks and balances. Like, oh, cool, Dave's doing something similar I put out this week, or Dave put something out that looks like a great idea. I'm gonna give that a go with my people.
Put your own spin on it.
Yeah, and put my own spin on it, exactly. And I think that's what this is all about. Yeah, one fitness professional to another is, take what works, throw out the
Yeah.
rest, and put your own spin on it a little bit. Make it personal and your approach. I have a very playful, games-like approach to a lot of my training, but it's rooted in moving better, feeling better, and becoming a better human, than you are.
Yeah. A better human
What
adult.
What's the so when we actually met in Dublin, correct me if
Yeah.
I'm wrong, you just come off the Anatomy and Motion workshop with Gary Ward. It was that same year, yes, 2014.
Yeah, that was a couple of years ago now. We started doing the courses. I can't remember what I'd done then. I think it was just one and two, levels one and two, and then finished level three more recently. They've changed the course format around now, but yeah, completed that. Now that's fascinating. You'd be
Yeah, and
you'd be
and
well into that if you get your hands on it.
I want to. I really do. I try. So, for those of our listeners that don't know what anatomy and motion is, I know a little bit of it from our time together, and you shared some with me. But enlighten us, please, because you said it was. This is a bit of paraphrasing, but it was the one course that changed the way you approach training. Is that correct?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay,
Um,
perfect.
of everything I've done, of all the people I've trained with, nothing has sort of made me rethink training and rethink the way I look at people as much as that anatomy and motion course has. Um, Gary Ward started putting this system together like a long, long time ago. I think he was creating the system before he knew he was creating it. Um, Through his own work, he started discovering that this way of looking at the body and using the human gait cycle, the way we walk, as not just an analysis tool to look at how the body's moving, but then to use those same movements as correctives to start helping people get out of pain, to move better, um, to access, to stimulate the muscles more effectively, more efficiently. Um, and he created this anatomy motion system, which has become this, or is becoming like this big hit through very much the physical therapy world. All the physios are jumping on it now. Um, they're getting phenomenal results. And there's a good few guys like myself who are more on the coaching, the fitness side of it, who are starting to look at it deeper and start implementing it into the fitness world. Um, there is a bit of a rise in people like myself who sort of sit on that borderline between physical therapy and fitness and coaching.
Well,
And
I
I
think I
prefer,
think if you're a good coach, you do tiptoe that border a little bit because everybody has bangs and tweaks that need to be remedied. And
yeah,
if you know what you're doing and you really care about your people, then I think you do tiptoe that line
yeah,
um, as a coach. A lot of people just say, "Hey, here's your workout," and they take them through it, and the people are already banged up, and you got
yeah.
one shoulder at 160 degrees and one at 180 degrees, and nobody questions it.
Hey,
Definitely.
Mark, Dave, could maybe you provide a couple examples about how you would apply that approach, or
I would
once you,
apply the approach. I use
yeah,
the anatomy motion in a couple of different ways. If I'm taking on a one-on-one client, their first session will always be a full anatomy motion assessment, generally about 90 minutes, where we go right through the body, how it moves, and just see if we can work out any kinks and creaks and just get them balanced better, unload any tightnesses, trying to work into old injuries, see if we can relieve any issues they may have, and then from what we find in that, that's how we build the warm-ups. That's going back to the warm-up question earlier on. We'll use the findings and the movements, the exercises that they will need to continue to improve their physical state, their injuries, pains, whatever else, to rebalance the body. We'll put that mainly into the warm-up, and then make sure that the sort of slightly more intense, the physical exercises that follow the warm-up complement the movements they've done in the warm-up. That'll be how we use it with a one-on-one client. We get people coming in just simply for assessments, just to, they're injured and they've got something coming up, so they'll come in, we'll do the assessment with them, give them the homework. More often than not, they see improvements. We've had a few people who were kind of at the wit's end with looking to just hitting a brick wall in the gym or in whatever training they were doing. One girl was, she was going to throw away her running shoes, give away she had a place in the Dublin Marathon. This was last year. So she was referred to me from one of my regular clients, and yeah, she put in a decent time that year. From, I think it was 6 or 8 weeks out from the marathon, and she couldn't run 10K. We did one session. She went off, carried on with her homework. I can't remember exactly what she needed to do now, but just a lot. If I remember rightly, there's a lot of issues with her. I'm just trying to think specifically now. Issues with pronation of the feet, so her knees were taking a hell of a beat, and her hips were getting laddering, going into a low back. It's just a cascade of stuff. From one problem lead to the next, lead to the next, lead to the next. We managed to dig down into a lot of them. Got her moving more freely, got her moving a bit better. Gave her the homework to do, real simple stuff that she could do, anywhere. And yeah, I dropped her an email a couple of months later after the marathon, asked how she went, and a very respectful time. She was delighted.
Excellent. Dave, next question's still with AIM, because I just think it's so fascinating. And I other than you, I know a lot of coaches, man. I got a big network here of people I've connected with through Facebook and Instagram, and even other than you, I don't know anybody who's practicing it. So two-part question. First is, what is it about anatomy and motion that is so effective? And then the second one is, how is that different? How does anatomy and motion differentiate itself from something like an FMS, which the functional movement screen, for those of you that don't know what that is, which is a bit of a screen and does have correct exercise for it. And then for those of you who don't know my background, it was listening to a Gray Cook lecture that I attended in Atlanta, Georgia, that changed my the way I look at training. Similar to Dave and AIM, it impacted the trajectory to where I am now, which is movement oriented and increasing human performance versus just beating the shit out of people, which is what I used to do. Oh, absolutely. The man's brilliant, and funny enough, the one time I've seen him talk 2 or 3 times now, and one time he and I just shot the shit about going turkey hunting. And that was kind of funny. Yeah. He's just a normal person with an incredible mind for application of physical therapy to movement practitioner.
I just love his style. Like, I would just put him on and listen to him as just to chill out.
Oh yeah, it's great.
He's got a lovely way of presenting.
Great cadence to his talk as well.
Yeah. So the first part of that question, what was that again?
What makes no, we got that one. What makes anatomy and motion so effective? You're talking about results with the girl who ran the marathon. That's 6 to 8 weeks out, and she can't do 10K, and all of a sudden she puts in 26.2 for one of her best times. That's outstanding results in a short amount of time.
Yeah, that was one session.
That was one session. She did her homework. Good on her to do her homework.
Doing the homework, yeah.
Right. Good on her to do her homework.
Oh no, yeah, she has to do the homework. It's like everything else. All I'm doing really is giving you the tools to go out and fix your own body. I can't fix your body. Nobody can fix your body.
Right.
You do the work. It is your body. It's your responsibility. I'm just going to help you figure out what you're doing, a way back to where you should be, using mostly the anatomy motion method. What makes it so effective is that it's based on the human gait cycle. Um, and if you consider, people always talk about the fundamental movements. There's how many fundamental movements? I know we have.
People go. I think people typically go. What is it? Crawling, vertical pull, hinge, um, horizontal, horizontal push, horizontal pull, squatting, and I believe a lunge pattern and
Yeah,
rotation. I think that's about covers it.
yeah. Um, I'd call those exercises. I don't call those
Right.
fundamental movements. As far as I'm concerned, the human animal has two, and that's walking and breathing. The way we breathe is, I mean, our rib cage, our chest cavity is completely unloaded. We're one of the few animals that have that. It's just our bipedal stance.
Mm-hmm.
We can move and breathe independently of each other. Whereas my dog's just gone running out to the garden. She's there on all four legs. Her rib cage is kind of constricted by her own body weight, which you'll notice when you're down doing your crawling patterns.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? So breathing's one of our superpowers. The other thing we do best is we walk. It's one of the movements we're practicing before we're even born. We're wiggling our arms and legs around in the womb. This kind of goal number one when we get out. Is to get to our feet and take those first few steps. How old are your kids now, Mark?
So the oldest is 3 years old and 1 month. That was yesterday.
Yeah.
And then the youngest is 13 months. He'll be 14 months on Saturday.
Brilliant. So the
And
youngest is now tottering about.
oh yeah, he started walking at 8 months, and the oldest started walking at 9.5 months.
Yeah. So you've
Uh,
just seen that process.
oh yeah,
Where it's just pure dedication. If we can get that level of dedication into any athlete, we'd be flying. Just to get to their feet and take those first few steps.
right. And I've written a few articles that draw on the observations of children and their development, and their movement patterns. In one particular article, I wrote about what you just said, is that when learning a new skill as an adult, we accept failure so readily. But a child that's learning to walk does not accept failure. They fall and fall and fall and fall, and they keep getting up and they keep trying, and they get it, because they realize they have to do it. Like it's a necessity for them. Like you said, it's something they're working on in the womb with motor development,
Yep.
before they even get out. It's the end game. This is funny. You'll like this, and it gives me an opportunity to brag on my 3-year-old. I asked him a question yesterday. We watched a documentary 2 weeks ago on wildebeest. I said, Ronan, what animal gets to its feet the fastest after birth and walks? And he sat there for a minute, and he looked at me, and he goes, a wildebeest. And even myself was surprised that he got the answer correct, because we saw one-time documentary 2 weeks ago, and he retained that. He's very very sharp lad, but that is a survival mechanism. The wildebeest has to get up and run within minutes because it's going to get eaten otherwise. And humans are not much different, because you have to get around this world. You can't just be carried. My 13-month-old is over 30 pounds. It is impractical for an adult to carry 30 pounds all the time. So he must learn to walk very quickly.
But it's the manner in which we walk
Right.
that sets us apart. Incredibly efficient, especially for a bipedal animal. We're incredibly efficient. And that very much comes down to the three-arch structure of the foot.
Yep.
If you consider the size of our Achilles tendon, the size of our gluteal muscles relative to our body size, they're pretty big.
Massive proportionally.
The pelvis is a particular structure, but really it's that foot, the three arches in the foot, the way they store and release energy. The IT bands store and release energy. We're built to walk. We're built to move. So by breaking down the gait cycle, which is what Anatomy Motion has done, it's broken down. It's studied what every joint motion is at each of the 6 major points, or what each joint is doing at each of the 6 major sort of stages of a single step. Um, Once you can map that out, you can trace back and look at a body and go, right, okay, this movement's not happening, this movement's not happening. So these muscles are loading up, these muscles are not loading up. These muscles are never getting a chance to release. They're never getting stimulated, and you can figure out what a body needs to do, and then work out what you need to give that person to get the body to do those things. But because it's all done very much through the gait cycle, which is walking, which is the most fundamental movement pattern you have, it just works. It just gets in deep to the body. It's not sitting there doing external rotations, which are as boring as hell. Sometimes necessary. We still give people those.
Right.
But there's not something isolated and boring that you've got to sit there with a dumbbell or a rubber band or whatever else. It's a movement you can do. Usually you're assisted with no equipment. But then, because you walk to get to the kitchen to put the kettle on, you should be reinforcing that homework, that therapy method, just simply through the act of walking, because that's what we're using as our assessment tool, as our exercises, as our corrections.
And there's the positive reinforcement that becomes so effective when paired with the homework is something we do every day, like you said, to go put the kettle on. Now reinforces the homework you've given. That makes sense why it's so effective. The reinforcement is something that's absolutely mindless. I mean, it's subconscious because I don't think when I walk. And getting back to the efficiency of walking, you're absolutely correct. I mean, humans can walk for an insane amount of miles. With very little conditioning. I mean, obviously, if you're in a little bit better shape and walk more frequently, you can go much further. But yeah, it does not take a lot. I grew up doing a lot of backpacking, and it was not uncommon for me, even in rugged terrain, to cover 15, 20 miles in a day.
Yeah, that shouldn't be a problem at all. Part of my own personal exercise snobbery is I don't believe walking should be considered exercise.
I've always said that. People will say, I say, well, what did you do this week? And they're like, well, I walked a little bit. It's like, you mean this thing that you were born, the one thing you were born to do? A bit cynical about it, but it's like, that's not really exercise. It's the one thing you're born to do. It should be pleasurable and leisure and a mode of transportation and necessary. It's all of those things but exercise.
Yeah, one of our it's the human animal superpower.
Right. As is sweating, because it cools the body.
Yes.
But
again, what does that mean? It means we're more efficient. So the fact that we sweat a lot and our thoracic cavity is unloaded when we walk means we can just keep walking.
Keep going. Yep. It's was it McDowell? What's his first name? McDowell or McDonald? It's escaping me now.
Born to Run guy.
The Born to Run guy. Yeah. Can't remember his name, but that was his observation.
Doug McDougall, I think.
Doug McDougall. Mike, you came in handy. Thank God you were here.
I haven't said much. I'm glad I contributed something today.
Doug McDougall. That's it. Yeah, great book. Born to Run. And
Christopher McDougall. Sorry.
Christopher McDougall. That's it. Christopher McDougall.
I screwed it up. Yeah.
It's all right. Great book, but in it he says, he's like, we can run down pretty much any animal, give it a chance, because it'll eventually get tired and need to stop. But we can keep going because we are cooling ourselves when we're going. Anyway, so that's a lot about anatomy and motion. A huge influence in you, and has been massive benefits for your clients. I'm sure they've enjoyed.
Yeah.
Enjoy that.
They all do witchcraft.
It is it's sorcery, Dave. Dave the sorcerer. Let's go on. You've done a lot of kettlebell work, and you're currently the master trainer of Ireland. Is that correct? And IKFF stands for what? Remind us.
That's the International Kettlebell and Fitness Federation.
Excellent. And the founder is Steve Cotter, yes?
Steve Cotter. He's he set that up with Ken Blackburn. Um, so Ken's pretty much the US based. He runs the show over there, and Steve does the rest of the world. Um, we've had Steve over in Dublin several times over the years. Top bloke. Have you met Steve Cotter?
I've not met him. I do hope
Get
to.
you on, right?
Actually, I hope we can maybe get him on the show one day
Yep,
to,
I'll put the word in.
to
He's,
chit
he's
chat.
a top bloke, really good guy.
Excellent. I've heard nothing but good things about him.
Yeah, I'd say you'd be hard pushed to find anybody to badmouth him. Um, and he really knows kettlebells. Um,
Now, how did you get hooked up with him? You pursued an interest in kettlebells at some point. Was it under the IKFF, or did you just
no,
fancy kettlebells and then meet up with Steve later?
when I was looking at kettlebells, there was Dragon Door, the RKC stuff. That's all there was when I was looking at kettlebells. Um, at the time, I'd heard about this thing through the internet, and it's like, yeah, okay, I read a few reports like that kettlebell's too good to be true because Dragon Door kind of pushed their marketing and the black magic a little bit too much. Um, but then I found a guy selling some, so I bought one and started playing with it, and bought some of Pavel's books. And through reading that, that's when I read about, back then it was the three guys. It was Marla, it was Cotter, and it was Steve Maxwell. They were kind of the head honchos at the time. They were the stars of the show.
Who was the first guy you mentioned?
Mike Marla?
Mike Mahler. Yeah.
Yes. So
I
Mike
think I'm
at that point
Facebook
had a
friends
lot of
with
his
him.
own stuff out. Oh yeah, no, Mike's a good guy. You should definitely talk to him too.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get him on the show too.
Kettlebells for strength and power. He's the heavy kettlebell guy.
Oh, cool.
I was following Steve Maxwell's work a lot because at the time, a lot of my training happened to look like a lot of his training, which is pretty cool. A lot of body weight stuff combined with the kettlebell. And when time came and I kind of wanted to get somebody over, looking through the guys, Steve Cotter had probably the least amount of public information that I could find. Maxwell had quite a lot, Marla had a lot. But then Steve Cotter was just like, yeah, I'll come to your gym. So we got him over, we trained, realized that this guy really does know the kettlebell from many different angles. Like, he was one of the original RKCs. He created a lot of the course material for the original RKC courses. But then when he went to Russia, he discovered that there's a lot more to it than what's just being taught by the RKC, and he learned about the actual Russian methods, what is used for kettlebell sport, the whole strength, power, endurance aspect of it, the time sets, the high repetition work, as well as all the supplementary training to go with it. And it was great just to work with Steve and get just a well-rounded knowledge of this training tool without it being married too much to any particular style. So he gives you the freedom to say, right, okay, here's the tool, here's how you use it properly, efficiently, here's some suggested ways of applying it in training, now run with it. And I really like that, so we kept in touch with Steve for a lot of years. We've had him back and forth from the club, taking around Ireland, and it was a couple of years ago he asked me to represent him as a master trainer, and at the time I was like, nah, too much like hard work. I was busy with stuff, and then when he was back the last time, he asked me again, so I figured he's asked me twice, I might as well say yes.
Right. Keep asking, right?
So yeah, that's I probably haven't done as much with the IKF role as I maybe should have done, but yeah, so we're going to start pushing a little more.
He sounds like a fantastic guy. I mean, I know you personally, and if you say a guy's a good guy, I take your word at it. But I do see that you alluded to that sense of freedom. Like, hey, here's the kettlebell, here's the foundations. Now make it your own sort of practice. he sort of lays out, and I think that from a conversation we had while I was over there, I did take a lot of mental notes from you, Dave, while I was over there. But it's this non-dogmatic approach to kettlebells, versus some people are like, well, my way's the best, and then this way's the best, and they're fighting over each other. And really, it's just about how do we teach the kettlebell to people safely and effectively, and give them an affinity for such a powerful tool that develops so many wonderful aspects of the human body.
Absolutely. I mean, how can one way be the best way?
There's no such thing.
It's not possible. I mean, how can I have one guy who's training for a triathlon, and I've got a guy next to him who's training for rugby, and somebody else beside them who's training for something different, swimming, for example? How can we use the exact same style of training for each of them? There is no one best way.
I think it's the best way for the person. What works for you?
For the individual in front of you, exactly.
Is that?
Or, go on.
Oh yeah, well, we can keep talking, but I mean, I notice that you work with an exceptional amount of athletes. In my opinion, you work with every athlete that's Irish, because it's a tiny island with a small population, but I swear they all go through wild geese.
There's no other gyms in Ireland, it's just mine. I'm the only one you can come and see.
We'll say that again, make sure that we've recorded it.
No, we've got a good few people coming in.
Yeah, right. So a lot of athletes, and very different athletes, all different sports, mountain biking, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. By the way, the lad you were talking about, they broke his leg and then came back. That was Sebastian, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, I had the privilege of rolling with him. I practiced Jiu-Jitsu for many years and was I've not actively practiced for going on 6 now, I believe. No, that's not quite right. 5. Had a chance to roll with the guy, and thought I had him for a second. He slipped out of a knee bar that I had on him, and then he eventually got me with a triangle.
Right.
No, he had a triangle. I defended the triangle, and he transitioned to a beautiful armbar. It was a lovely finish. And then Dave goes to me, guys. Then Dave says, "That's that guy won the European Championship last year." So I did not feel as bad being bested and tapping out to Sebastian. I thought I actually fared pretty well against him.
He only got bronze this year, but he's in the next.
Only got bronze this year, but by the time I rolled him 2 years ago, he was the European champion, and so I was like, oh well, yeah, I guess he is pretty good. But that was a great story and a great memory, and a really fun day. We had a great day at the gym that day. I think I ended up teaching that class that night, right? Was that the same day?
Right. Yeah,
fun day. Yeah, great place, great environment. Like, while I'm talking about it, if anybody is in Ireland, the atmosphere that Dave has created there. I was actually talking about it to my dad last week. My dad and I are very close. We talk about everything, and I said I'm excited to have Dave on the show, and we were chit-chatting about somebody else and how they just are always drawn to these shiny with brand new equipment gyms. I said I like the dungeon look. I like a place that looks like a barn or a dungeon, and my place looks like a barn. And then I go to Dave's, and it's you walk down this step, and it's this just open mats, and there's in the corner there's a little squat rack, and there's kettlebells that look like they've absolutely been used without any hesitation. Yeah, hammered. I mean, they're beat to shit, these kettlebells, and I was like, this is my kind of place, and it smells like sweat, and in the good way.
Yep.
And this is my kind of place. And then when Dave asked me to, would I like to guest teach a class, I was humbled and honored, and I graciously accepted. And the community that is there is something so special and so rare. So if our listeners are in Dublin or in Ireland and can get down there, the atmosphere that Dave and Paul have created, Paul's your partner, is just something special, and you don't find it in many places. There's some joking around, but it's also a no bullshit atmosphere that gets the job done. So there's me plugging your place, having experienced your place.
That's good. Thank you.
You can send me a 20 later. But so you work with a lot of athletes. Is there any difference in the way you work with your athletes versus your average Joes?
Nope.
And no, just straight answer no.
Just straight out, no. Um,
Why?
no. Quality training is quality training. Now, the things they do and the intensity at which they work, yeah, okay, we could say we make differences there, but
Okay.
everything is person specific. Even when it's the group class, we still, okay, you're going to do this exercise this way, you're going to do this exercise that way. When it's an athlete training up for an event, they'll have obviously their worksheet that they're working from, their program that they're following. But it doesn't look that much different to anybody else's, really. All right, we'll tailor it to the sport a little bit. Maybe they need more high intensity. Oh, excuse me. Maybe they need a bit more strength work. Maybe they need a bit of this, bit of that, a bit more agility. But the sport that they do isn't the driving factor behind the training program. It's the person. What does that person need? Okay.
Right.
All sports require a person to do it. Okay. It's four limbs revolving on a spine. That's not going to change. So, okay, we have to take that body, optimize it, take into account the needs of the sport, but basically we're working with a body. So no, most of the training is kind of similar, but with different flavors.
Fair enough. I like it. Sort of, hey, we all need to be better at these things.
Um,
We real quick. I know we're kind of running towards the end of time, but I think we started a little bit late, so we've got 10, 15 more minutes. Yeah, I'm in no rush either. Well, as long as I got you here, we might as well pick your brain. It's a respectable one, all 3 pounds of it, so we might as well use it. So today, was it, I believe, you released an article on posture, yes, in your blog?
oh, that went out on
Is that today or yesterday?
Yeah. Saturday.
Surely it wasn't Saturday. Was it?
It might have been. I don't know.
Wait, your question, I believe the original question was Saturday, and
Okay.
it took a day or two to get through it. But I found that to be a fascinating. I mean, most of the stuff you write, I really enjoy. But I found that this explanation to be utterly fascinating because I think that a lot of people needed to hear that. And I don't know what kind of audience you have in your newsletter. I hope it's a big one because people needed to hear what you said because I thought it was right on. And I'll recap a little bit. I'll do a synopsis of what it said, and I'll let you elaborate and put your touches on it. But
Cool.
Basically,
What it said.
it's fine. I'll fill you in, Dave, on what you wrote. Basically, he was saying that there's perfect postures, sort of bullshit, and if you are rotated and you're trying to force yourself into a good alignment, a good posture, you're actually creating further tension to an already tense system, which is true. If you're sloped forward, you have these short pectoral muscles and anterior rotation of the shoulders, and then if you try to force that up, those muscles get even tighter, but then now your back is yanking on the shoulders to pull the scapulars down and back to where they need to be and the shoulders back, and it's more work for the system. Now, you went on to say, and both the video explanation, which was very spot on, but you did talk about how your sport should not become your posture. And I've seen this a lot. Back when I was doing MMA a lot, I noticed a lot of these guys had this like rolled forward sort of boxing, kickboxing stance. These shoulders are slooped, and and up, hyperactive upper traps. Where you sort of make that protective shell. You know what I'm talking about. You've done more martial arts than anybody alive, except for Chuck Norris. I'm just kidding. But it's good to work. It's always good to work Chuck Norris into a podcast. It just skyrockets ratings. We just put that in the tag. In the tag. Do what now?
I did a bit of Tuxedo.
Nice. Excellent.
School teacher of mine was a Tuxedo.
No shit. No shit.
Pretty cool. Yeah.
But yeah, you know that kind of that shield protective stance, and I noticed it around a lot of guys, and I said, man, you kind of get stuck that way. And you talked about that in your podcast, and you did say your conclusion was it's not that we accept this posture and live in this, but that you slowly work at, you correct it to a certain degree rather than forcing yourself into an upright stance. Um,
No,
I thought it was fascinating. I thought it was a fresh spin on posture because too often it's posture, posture, posture. You got to stand up straight. You got to stand up straight. That doesn't fix it. You know, it doesn't. I can tell somebody to stand up straight all day long. When they relax, they go right back to where they were.
uh-huh. And I've seen YouTube videos of people talking about posture and correcting posture, and they bring out this person that's okay. Show me how you walk, and look at this posture, blah, blah, blah. And you see as they go off camera, they relax and just the shoulders slump forward and the back rounds out again, and it's like that was just fake for the camera. Um, you can't fake posture. You can't. You can, it, it is what it is. Your body's set up a certain way, and how it got into that posture is pretty much the story of your life to that day. You know, the sports you've played, the jobs you do, the activities, your injuries, blah blah blah, etc. Um, and that story is told through your posture pretty much. Um, so if you just try and force yourself into a particular shape, how's that going to change? You just you, you gave the example already. The shoulders, you see the shoulders up, the traps are tight, traps are overactive, so the shoulders are high or maybe rolled forward a little bit. You're talking about fighting posture. So so what? You just yank them back and down. That pec minor is just going to be pulled into a stretch that it doesn't like, and
It's
it's
gonna be
going to
screaming,
roll straight back.
right? It'll be screaming, and then you get into a sort of posterior anterior tug of war,
Exactly.
right? I will say that the
That
statement you
should
just said
come
was
out somewhere.
what you just said was immensely wise. That the posture you have is the story of your life. Um,
Pretty much,
I,
yeah.
that is a profound statement. Just wanted to reiterate that for our listeners. Make sure that they heard that your posture is the story of your life, and it's so true. All right. So
It's
what about the
we quite often revisit that. You know, we make sure a lot of our athletes are proud of their injuries they're carrying, and we often recite to them the statement that a kid who doesn't break his toys is not playing hard enough.
right?
So a lot of the guys who are going out playing the sports, like the mountain bikers, are always coming in smashed up. It's like, oh, what was this one? Oh, that was this crash. Oh, what were you doing? Oh, coming around this really tight berm. They've got this cool story behind it. It's like, well, yeah, be proud of that injury. Now
Yeah,
we'll fix it.
mountain
We'll get
bikers,
it out of
I
you.
think, are missing a certain part of their brain. I went to school with a guy. He actually ran cross country with me to help him cross train for mountain biking. He skipped college his first year, went semi pro. Now he did talk about nothing but mountain biking, which was sometimes annoying. But man, he had the coolest stories, and and he would tell me these things. He's like, I was on this pitch and it was like this, and of course he'd do an angle with his hand that I was like, why are you even on that?
Yeah.
And
No,
and
even I
he,
was mountain biking. You've ridden down
and
things.
I
You
was
come back
like,
the next day to walk it, and you're like, "What the hell was I thinking?"
exactly. Yeah, it's
Uh-huh.
just a certain part of their brain missing, and so anyway, yeah, I think that's great. So posture, real quick, we got a couple things to touch on.
Hmm.
I did want to talk about you being a doorman because I think that's really cool. I often, a lot of times, I've written several articles and I talk about situational awareness all the time.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's cool. And then also, why not, while we're talking about maybe a little bit of your doorman experience, maybe a tale or two, but while we talk about that, also tie into the self-defense courses you do so often. I think those can go
Okay.
hand in hand. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Self-defense courses, I've taken a bit of a back seat at the minute. I've just been flat out busy with the coach and the training, but it's something that I will return to hopefully if the schedule frees up a little bit. But yeah, being a doorman was useful. I did a spell where I was traveling a lot, just sort of bumming about, not being particularly useful to society. Um, so bar work and door work was just handy work to get into. And then when I landed in Ireland the first time, um, I got a job at a door, which was great because I found the Leeson Street Martial Arts Academy, and I could be in there all day and just train and play and have fun. And then the night times I could work on the door. So 4 or 5 hours in the martial arts place, 4 or 5 hours on the door. That's not a bad all day. Um,
No, not at all. Sounds like fun.
you know, cheap living, decent money, get to train a lot. And then because you're too busy training, you're not doing much else with your cash, you get to go away to cool places and see cool people and train with people in other countries. So that was pretty much the life for a good number of years. Um, and it was through that Leeson Street Martial Arts Academy and the doors that I met Paul. You mentioned Paul earlier on.
Yeah, I
Paul and I
remember you
were
taking me
training
to a place you used to
partners.
work the door.
Yeah, we were training partners and we used to work the same door together. And we just, yeah, that's where we came up with the idea of, we should get our own, we should open our own training facility and, you know, build it around the philosophy of just train hard, take your training seriously, but not yourself. Make it about an attitude rather than any particular style or system. Um, so yeah, the working on the doors is kind of the very foundation of what we do. I've no real cool tales to tell because I can't remember any. I'm sure there's a few.
It's fine. But, I think drawing upon that, I mean, tying it into your experience as a doorman and your camaraderie with Paul became an entire belief system, a philosophy that is now a business, but also a home for many people trying to better themselves. And I think that's what's brilliant out of that. Like you said, take your training seriously, but not yourself. I was telling Mike, I said, Dave's a great guy. He's a no bullshit guy, but he doesn't take himself too seriously, and I think that's what has always been
Okay.
my appeal to working with you and chatting with you. We're gonna wrap up here in a minute. I do want to, while you have the platform, please take an opportunity, Dave, to talk about your work with mental health groups. I think it's just fantastic work you do. Um, what got you started in working with the mental health group, and what's your next fundraiser?
Oh God, the fundraiser. Yeah. The
Take
mental health group. That was a happy accident, if ever there was one. Um, just around the corner from where my gym is situated, there's a local mental health day centre. Um, it's part of the Rehab Care Company, which are a big company in UK, Ireland, and parts of Europe. There's many branches, but this centre, which is known as HOPS, that youth, I can't remember what it used to stand for, but now they had to rename it there, so it's Hope and Peer Support, which kind of sums it up quite nicely. The manager there was looking for sort of what's the word? Sort of things for the guys to do outside of the centre, put them in the community, get them into places and doing things that would be just outside of the comfort zone, challenging them. Okay, which is where, as you know, that's where growth happens is when you're challenged
right.
in a huge way.
Agree.
So the manager Nessa brought me in. We had a good chat, and so okay, we're going to do a self-defense course. She'd seen it on the website. So we were local, and then had a look at the website. Can you do a self-defense course? So we arranged a 10-week, 1 day a week self-defense, basic training, and she gave me a whole load of rules that, okay, because of the various issues that the guys have, you probably won't be able to do this, and there'll be trust issues and contact issues and this and that and the other and whatever else. And by the end of the 10 weeks, we'd broken every single rule.
That's
And
awesome.
she kind of knew it. She reads people. She saw right through me. She reads people really, really well. Um, so she kind of knew that the guys would be safe but they would be challenged and they would be encouraged. So we did a 10-week self-defense course. Um, basic movements, just moving. Here's how you move the body to throw a strike. Here's how you move the body to put a little combination together. Had them working on the bags, and as the weeks went by, we had them doing a bit of partner work, holding pads for each other, um, doing some sort of eyes closed reactionary drills, which, I have to say I was nervous the day I was going to run them. But it worked, and the guys were buzzing off it.
That's
So
awesome.
that 10 weeks became a second 10 weeks. And then we built up a relationship then. So the guys got to know me, they got to know the venue. I built up a really good working relationship with the manager, Nessa, and some of the other staff in there. Got to know the guys really well, the saying hello and waving on the street, that sort of thing. So that was a second 10 weeks, and then it was like, okay, some of them said, can we do less of a sort of a self-defense, violence thing, and more of a fitness thing? So we started to blend, half the class would be fitness, half the class would be the self-defense stuff. Excuse me. It just rolled from there. Now, that was got to be 5 years ago, maybe even 6, when that started, and it's been ongoing ever since. Now we run just 2 regular classes. On Monday, we do a men's group where we teach them the Philippine martial arts, eskrima, so stick swinging. We do double stick work. There are face each other partner work, banging the sticks together. I don't know if you're familiar with the Philippine martial arts, Kali, eskrima.
Yeah, very familiar. Well, not in a practitioner sense, but I've looked at it, watched it, seen it, swung a stick or two with one guy that.
Scene in Game of Death with Bruce Lee and Danny Inosanto.
Yep.
So yeah,
and I saw you guys doing it when I was over there.
Yeah. So you get an idea of the coordination that's required. If you've got a stick in each hand and you're moving them around in a coordinated pattern,
right?
And then you're facing a partner who's doing the same thing, and your sticks are crossing, they're banging against each other in this pattern.
Mm-hmm.
There's a hell of a lot of coordination there, plus the banging of the sticks or the impact. For somebody who has anxiety issues and whatever else going on in mental health problems, that could be a highly, highly stressful scenario. But yet, week in, week out, they're in and they're doing it. And as a result, Nessa, the manager, now she's moved on there this last while, she's now managing a different place. But she noticed the differences and said it to me, which is really cool, because I didn't want to go to her and say, look, I'm seeing differences in these guys,
right.
And come across as the bragging trainer.
Toot your own horn there.
She said it to me.
Well, I'm sure that the neurological stimulation was just absolutely productive for him.
Well, there's a lot of talk and research being sort of pushed out at the moment where using complex movements, improvised, playful movements to stimulate the brain. A lot of talk about how the size of the brain is the reason we can do so many complex movement patterns, and we can basically play.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, martial arts are a great thing for that. But then you add on to that partner work, semi-improvised, sort of semi-free play type stuff, using a hard stick. So it's, you get a crack off one of them, it
clack, 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 clack.
They're not gonna break bones. We're not going hard enough for that, but they sting.
Sure.
So these guys are dealing with that and like really doing well. It's fascinating. It's great. So that relationship's been built for a long time now. So we do a fitness class once a week, just some movement drills. We've got now deadlifting kettlebells, a few more deadlifts, and then a circuit training. And everybody that's in that class has been surprised, almost shocked by it, that these guys, and they're not young lads, they're all in their sort of 40s, 50s.
Mm-hmm.
the lifelong mental health issues. I mean, most of the guys that come to me will never be totally independent.
Sure.
They'll always, I mean, they might be in supported networks. Some of them are actually in residential, but they'll never be out there on their own. But they come into me on the Wednesday when we do the fitness class, and I had two Thai boxers training up. I mean, these guys fight regularly. They were into an extra training at the same time, and one of them comes over to me and says, "I'm shamed by these guys." He was like, he says, "We're Thai boxers. We're all in our 20s. Some of them are in our 30s. We're fit. We're strong. Look at us, bloody ripped and there. And all we do is moan about how hard the training is. And these guys come in with the mental health issues, and they just get on with it. And they have a laugh and a joke and a smile.
They
and
enjoy it.
Hard,
Yep.
They get stuck in." And he was like, it just put a light in his head. It was amazing that these guys are now inspiring
Your other
what
regulars.
you could consider to be the top athletes.
Right.
Um,
That's awesome.
yeah, it's incredible.
Look at that. Hard ass Dave with a heart of gold. I'm a big fan of play, and I've often said the same thing, that the brain craves complexities, and it's funny sometimes I can give somebody such a simple movement and they fail miserably at it, and then if I give them this outrageous sequence of things, they do it. And I said that the brain wants complexities, so I think it's so it's right on, gelling with what you're saying there, that these people are thriving mentally through the complex movements that you're showing them and the complex patterns. I feel like I'm a pretty coordinated guy, fairly athletic. I feel like I'd get just caught on the nose trying to do one of those Eskrima flows there.
Don't worry about it, we can teach you.
Well, I hope to get back over there sooner than later, or have you over here. We are about out of time. My scotch is empty, and the hour is long, so we're gonna sign off here. Before we sign off, Dave, I tell everybody how they can reach you, website, email, if there's a way that they can donate to your next mental health cause, or if that's just something to be on look for, how they can follow your blog, any information, also your online training, plug that, and we'll have you email us when we do your blog post and everything. We'll have all that information for you as well. And guys, thanks for tuning in today and listening to our guest, Dave Hedges. I'm going to let him plug a little bit of things, and then I'll wrap it up for us. So go ahead, Dave.
Thank you. Well, getting hold of me is easy enough. Facebook is ubiquitous. Just stick my name, Dave Hedges, into Facebook. The website is wg-fit.com, Wild Geese Fitness Training. Email address is all on there. There's contact forms, the whole lot, if you want to get in touch with me through that. The fundraiser, yes, the fundraiser. We're just in the early stage of planning the next fundraiser and it's for the rehab care, the Hop Centre. Now, we've done this twice before. It's 1 mile of walking kettlebell swings. We've raised about €5,000 euros. Both times we've run it. We're hoping to raise a little bit more than that this year. The centre needs a bit of work on. So that will be in November, where I'm hoping to do a mile of unbroken walking kettlebell swings. Some of my guys are going to join me. Last time I did it with a 24 kilo bell. Time before that with a 16 kilo bell. So this time we're going to attempt it with a 28 kilo bell.
Oh my!
We don't have, huh?
I said, oh my!
Yeah.
That's
a few sleeping nights before that.
I've done a quarter with a 16, and that was pretty tough. So, but whenever you get the link for that, let us know, and we will plug it out to our listeners. We'd love to see that number double what you've raised in the past, and we'd love to get our listeners involved. This is a wonderful cause, everybody, and from hearing Dave talk, he's doing good work, guys. So if we can support his involvement with the mental health community there in Dublin, that'd be great, and expand his reach. And then you're online coaching. You just started that, so where can people
Yeah,
find information about that?
we've gone to exercise.com,
Okay.
which is a platform for hosting online coaching. It's a service I've been almost offering for a long time, but just the logistics of emails and spreadsheets and whatever else, it was just a pain in the backside, especially when
Sure.
I'm already short on time. So discovered exercise.com, had a look on that. They've got all the hard work for you, so it's a great little platform. I've started logging my own workouts on there as and when I might get time to do them. Set up a training group on there. I've got 3 workout programs in there. There's a kettlebell sport program, the morning boot camp that I run, which is a solid athletic training program, that's in there, and the hip mobility ebook that I recently released. I've put that in there as an online program as well. So, and there'll be more. There's a bodyweight kettlebell one going on there shortly, hopefully tomorrow if I get a chance. So yeah, just throw my name into exercise.com. Sure, throw my name into Facebook, Google, you name it, and hopefully I'll turn up. All right.
Perfect. We might even see if you get an exercise or two on Awaken Alive site here in the future. We do look forward to your blog post. I always enjoy those. If you guys don't know, we're going to have, starting from this episode forward, all of our guest guest podcast members also do a guest blog post for us, which will
Oh
just
yes.
kind of help spread out some of the mental capacity there, get off of different ideas and whatnot going. And Dave's an excellent writer. Do what?
All the best blog posts come from questions from clients. So I love
Yeah.
when people
So
write in with questions.
sure. Dave, thanks so much for coming on the show and
Definitely.
spending
Thanks,
time
Dave.
with us. I know it's super late for you over there in Dublin,
All
and
good.
we will. You know what? We'll have you on the show again sometime if you enjoyed it, because there's
Yeah,
so
no
much
problem.
more to chat about, and that I think that accent sells gold records.
Yeah, no, I'd love to come back on again. Ask me anything you like as long as I know the answer.
I love it. All right, cheers, mate.
No worries at all, man.
Have a great night, Dave. Thanks again.
Good meeting you.
Me
We'll talk
too.
again soon.
Enjoyed every minute of it. Thanks.